Rachel Fairley, give us the 30-second introduction so everybody in the room now knows who you are.
Okay, so I have spent my career fixing businesses, brand, marketing, and experience. I've worked on almost 40, lots of different industries, but typically I get a call when everyone else is walking out the room, having spent the money, burnt the time, got fed up. And I come in to help people get that growth, that revenue growth back again and leave them with everything working much better than it was when I started.
The B word. Bastard. No, not that one. Brand. That was the brand word. Sorry, it's a Yorkshire thing. And this is a common misconception, isn't it? Is this something you come across all the time? Brands, fluffy, revenues, kind of sales activation stuff. We don't get involved in that.
Yeah, so I think part of the issue is that there's a lot of people who don't think commercially when they're working on brand or marketing or experience. And so there's a lot of things that are lovely to do and are great fun and are good at kind of going ta-da and showing people and people going, oh, wow, you did that. That's amazing. But I have found that if you're not really, really focused on what commercially needs fixing and growing, that you don't actually get the results that you hoped for, and you can put a lot of effort in. And the ta-da, it's not enough to go ta-da. Do you know what I mean?
As marketers, we love the ta-da moment.
Oh,
we love it. Just going, no, we've worked on this forever. Everyone just sit there, get really excited while we pull back this curtain for you.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a nervousness to it. There's a bit of an excitement. It crackles through the room. And the client either goes, what is it? I love it. I hate it. But in my experience, and I wonder if it's your experience, the ta-da moment is maybe the entirely wrong way to run that process. Would that be your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Everybody wants to do some kind of brand anthem film, some kind of brand book. And also people really, really love having a kind of big event to kick things off. Now, I'm a huge believer in remarkable moments, that there are moments that you can create a kind of peak in the experience that leave memories, that make people connect problems to you being part of the solution, all the good things that you need to do as a marketer. But I don't think you need any brand guidelines, and I don't think you need a brand anthem film. And when I hear that lots of money is being spent on those things, it already tells me quite a lot about how that company is thinking about brand.
So in the room right now, or anyone watching this right now, there's a bunch of people going, hold on. He's got to ask that question. Andy, you've got to ask that question. You don't need brand guidelines.
No.
And there are people sitting there going, no, but I've got that sales team over there who are, there's we're a remote team. That's the word I was after. Remote team, different people, different places. How do we all stay on the same page unless we have brand guidelines, a Bible that people buy into?
Yeah, so
we don't need them.
It's better not to have them, both for the people in your company, the people that you work with as partners, and also for the agencies. And that's what's kind of quite odd, I think, about the fact that people have really bought into brand guidelines. So the problem with brand guidelines is that you basically work out what ingredients, what kind of assets you have in your brand, and then you prescribe how they should be used in lots of different formats, right? But you do that without knowing what works in that channel, in that format. It's a kind of like, I'm just going to decide for you that the logo's always got to be, you know, bottom left. And I don't care if it's an event stand and I won't be able to see it across the room, because we've decided the logo is always bottom left. And I don't care if it should be top left on a website, because we're different. So we're going to put it bottom. You know, it's like so you decide in advance. So you basically, what you do is you manage to alienate, by writing guidelines, you manage to alienate all the practitioners who know how to really do things effectively in market and in the situations that they're in. And then the other thing is, as an agency, is that you do all this wonderful creative work to work out how the brand should actually work. And then you spend a lot of time documenting rules that you're not convinced actually are necessarily going to work or not. And then you're out of a job. And actually, if you didn't do brand guidelines, so what good looks like is that you work out what the ingredients are in your brand. So it could be colors and a sonic and graphics and a logo and a strap line and whatever the ingredients are that you want to have in your brand. And then what you do is you make recipes with them. and you work out what combination of things you're going to need to execute any particular channel. And then you basically leave it to the people who are making the actual assets to communicate with to decide what it is that they want to combine to make it look on brand. So some of those you might say it's always got to have the logo, but I don't care where it is. It just has to be in the most sensible place for how you're going to scan and read that communication.
May I make the case for brand guidelines slightly differently?
Go on.
And because there's always a guy, and it is always a guy, called Gerald, who works in accounts. And Gerald occasionally has to deal with external stakeholders and will use the logo at an angle in the wrong colors because he's dicked around with it on PowerPoint and he's put it up there and he's now talking to your investors and everyone in the brand team sat there going, I'm going to murder Gerald when he's done. And there's always a salesman, and he's always a guy as well, who's out there with like 3-year-old templates that he's still using on his sales deck and things like that and going, oh, don't worry, I still sell stuff, so it's fine. Isn't that a case to kind of bring an organization into line? And maybe we need better brand guidelines, but don't we need them just so we can beat Gerald from accounts around the head every now and again?
No, because he's not going to read your brand guidelines. So he's going to do what everybody does, which is he's going to do whatever he likes, and he's going to be told off. So
ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah, what's the point? It's better to teach him what good looks like and to help him understand which combinations of things he likes using that are on brand and let him crack on.
Why doesn't this work the other way, though? Why, when I fall out with someone over having to request a purchase order number 6 weeks before I actually need it, am I not allowed to just say, yeah, but Gerald, I'm just kind of riffing off the what you said and using your process the way it suits me? Sorry, I just have a problem with Gerald from accounts.
I think you have a problem with shadow marketing. So I think one of the biggest challenges in an organization for marketing people is knowing that lots of other people are doing marketing for them, whether it's assistants to salespeople who are organizing events, whether it is Gerald from accounts, it doesn't really matter. But, lots of people think that they know how to use the brand. You're better off teaching them how to recognize something as being on or off brand than you are giving them guidelines they're not going to look at and then turn yourself into the police. Because honestly, you end up in a situation where you just keep delegating down the policing to somebody more junior, but they have to be really capable, and then they'll quit because they hate policing. I mean, you hate policing, which is why you gave it to them. So there's just no point. I think you've got to think about, it's almost like this is very fashionista, but it's like having a capsule wardrobe, right? And you're always going to have 1 or 2 items are always going to be there, and everything else is like you've got a limited number of things that you can play with. And frankly, I don't care what combination you use to get it to work. I just care that that asset actually works in execution. If it's wayfinding, can they find their way using the signage that you created that's on brand, right? If it's an ad on social media, does it pop? If it's in a salesperson's bag, when they pull it out, does it impress? Does it do the job that it's supposed to do? And if not, how can you make that asset work better? But otherwise, brand basically becomes just about cosmetic. I mean, it's like the sort of cosmetic surgery of the business world. And AI doesn't like it either, because hilariously, the thing about brand guidelines is they're really subjective. So like people just make up the rules as they're writing them. And so if you try and teach a machine what the rules of your brand are, they're going to go, well, is it this or is it this? Like, it can't be both. Which one is it? And so it's better to say, here are the ingredients. This is what good looks like. Tell me how to apply the message, the visual kind of cues, the sound cues, and so on, and make it work in a way that really grabs the audience attention. Let's track what's working and what isn't. And let's go back and tell people this combination works best for this channel in this way. It's just a best practice thing rather than it being about guidelines. But I just think it's much more fun. It definitely works better in execution. I mean, and in the end, that's what matters, is people being happy to use it and to use it in a way that works.
So from one fashionista to another, let's look at then maybe the kind of couple of key elements. So you've worked on stacks of brand projects. There must be kind of maybe 3, 4, 5 things that every successful project has in common. What are those elements? Can you share them with us?
So the one thing that makes the biggest difference of all is a diagnosis. So there's 4 there's 4 ways to strengthen your brand, right? And Sarah, Rob, and I, who wrote this book, Rebrand Right, together, we call them cred, your brand cred. So it's about cohesion. So how cohesive, not consistent. Don't believe in consistency. I don't believe that everything should be looky likey, matchy. I believe that things should look like they belong together, but not be identikit. So cohesion, if you can get things to the promise you make to be the experience people have, that what you promise up front is what they buy, you know, what you say the event's going to be, it actually is, you know, if you can actually make sure that everything is cohesive, and then also that it is relevant to the buyer, that is easy to remember, to engage with, to buy from, and then that it is different in some way from the competition. So if you've got good brand cred, that's fantastic, but you have to analyze at the beginning what it is that you are doing really well, that you need to keep doing, where the gaps are, and what you should absolutely stop doing. And so what I have seen repeatedly, and it's like a little, I mean, there's always a sigh, I'm afraid, but is what I see people doing is rushing into making cosmetic changes without really diagnosing what the situation is. And if you don't do a diagnosis at the beginning with data, then every decision that is made after that is subjective. It's what does the CEO's mistress prefer in terms of the color of the brand, genuinely. Yep. It is, I don't like that phrase, let's just change it at the last minute to be a different phrase that means something completely different, that is literally the why do you all get out of bed in the morning to do the job at all, right? Yeah. So do a diagnosis, understand what the strengths and weaknesses are and what you actually have to do to fix it, to make your brand really, really strong, because predisposition of your brand in the buyer's mind, or the talent when they're thinking about getting a new job, is everything. Because if they don't have it in their head before they come to market, they're not going to buy from you. So yeah, it's people wanting to do the ta-da and rushing into making changes that actually not always needed.
I was actually looking for a stat from some research that System 1 did, Andrew Tyndall, and I think Mark Whitson did it. And it was about kind of how you make ads effective. I went through all 750 pages. Andrew Tyndall was at this event last year as well. He's brilliant. I went through all, like 8 million pages that they produced. But there was one stat that they kind of glossed over in the report, which was about diagnosis. And I can't quite remember it, but it was something like, if you go through a thorough sort of diagnosis process, the chances of success of your campaign go up by, I think it was like 9-fold. Or something like that. But then they never came back to this stat through the whole report. And I was sat there going, this is the most interesting thing in the whole damn thing. Where your logo goes and how many times you say the brand name, I don't care about. Diagnosis first. Get it right.
Yeah. And it's a really lovely moment, actually, because you have to walk the halls in the business and you have to go and really listen to the product and the salespeople and really understand what's working and what isn't. But you also have to study your competitors. You have to look at all the data that you've got that's telling you why are customers churning? Why are they putting stuff in a basket and not converting? Why are they registering for events and not turning up? And you're looking for all the clues. And when you lay it out, I mean, I love the moment where you start briefing everybody on the diagnosis, because what you normally see is people nodding their heads and saying, oh my God, I thought this was the situation. But when you see it in hard numbers, oh my God, that's amazing. And everybody understands what the problem is. And so it's so much easier as well at the end, well, not even at the end, like 6 months, a year later, to be able to come back and go, the data was this, and now it is this. And you can show change on real metrics that the business agreed were problems before you even started doing the work. And that avoids the whole thing of marketing coming back and going, well, we've managed to achieve these things, and the business going, I don't really know if that matters. I don't know if I should care. I don't know if you've done a good job. It's like you've got everyone bought into what has to happen. It's much easier to do it with all your colleagues as well, because everybody sees the same thing. So I think diagnosis is literally, it's that and outsourcing your strategic thinking to an agency. is another problem. I think you absolutely need creative and strategic firepower from people who sit outside your business and have worked across different industries, different situations like yours, but have solved them in lots of different ways. You definitely need that, but you can't outsource the decision making. You have got to have skin in the game. You've got to really be thinking it through, looking at the data with them, thinking about what's going to work, what isn't. You're the one who has to walk the halls, get it all sold in, you know, really get everybody to talk about, well, what would we do differently? How would we behave or take decisions in a way that is different as a result of having this as our strategy? And you have got to have skin in the game. And I think a lot of marketers think this is something that can kind of be run while they get on with their day job. And actually, for a while, it becomes the thing that you're driving in the business.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as someone who runs strategy processes with clients, I nearly had a heart attack then when you said don't outsource it. Do outsource it. Give me a shot. No. But the thing I don't rarely make decisions. You can't make a decision for a client, but I just run the process and don't have a ta-da moment, to come back to where we started. But the whole point is you working through and pulling in that information, sharing it with the stakeholders, but also one of the things that I do is make sure that we hear bottom up as well as top down. The number of times I drop in somewhere to work and they're like, oh yeah, so you know, we went on an away day and we came back with this strategy, and you're like, did you talk to any customers? No. Did you talk to anyone else in the organization? No. Did you speak to the people on the call first? No. Right. Okay. This is just wishful thinking and pretty. I'm sure you had a lovely time, but it's useless.
It's often Emperor's New Clothes.
Yeah. Lots of buzzwords in it.
Yeah, lots of great words. And the CEO usually going, yeah, great. This is basically what I said to you all 3 weeks ago in a room. You've just sort of bottled it, right? But that's not the job. The job is to be market oriented and to figure out what it is that your business does differently and better, why you are a better answer to the clients' or customers' problems than anyone else. And the same for talent. Why should talent come and work for you? Why should they want that job with you? What is it that they're going to do that is going to have a profound impact on the market that they're serving? Like, how do you get the job satisfaction? So there's another mistake I see, which is HR go off and do like an employer brand. There's no such thing, by the way. And then, you know, the brand team go and do something else. And then they're usually within marketing. So the execution ends up being very much about campaigns, but actually brand belongs with corporate strategy. I mean, wherever it sits, it is basically the other side of the business strategy, the business and brand strategy. And, you know, HR, they have to be your new best friend. As a brand person or as a marketer, because what you need to do is figure out what the experience needs to be for the people who are your buyers and your customers, and then how do you have an experience for the people who work there that enables them to actually deliver that, so they're not trying to use systems stuck together with sellotape. You know, they're not having to kind of go around the side of processes that don't work in order to get things done quickly for their customers, but they're actually set up to do the work really well and with good grace. And so I think that's another thing, is where you hear, yeah, we'd like to do some work on the strategy. HR are just coming through with their employer brand, and you're like, oh, radar's going off. Like,
I think half the marketers in Belfast work on employer branding. So I think you've just upset another bunch of people in the room, Rachel.
Well, because there's only one brand. So what you have to do is you have to come up with what is the one brand that your business has, and then the job of the kind of employer brand work is actually to turn that into a value proposition and engage and market to, and, you know, bring in the talent. But it's not a separate thing.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, I've got one more question for you, which is entirely out of order, but we'll move it. It should have been at the beginning, but we'll ask it now anyway. What are the signs that you should look to be refreshing your brand? I'm not going to talk about rebranding, well, maybe even rebranding, right? But what are the signs? Because often people start with, you get bored of it, right? You're looking at it every single day, your customers aren't, so you get bored of it, and maybe that's where it starts. Wrong reason. But what are the signs, what are the challenges that are maybe the flares that are going off that you should be thinking, that flare's gone off, that flare's gone off, okay, maybe we should start pulling some data in to see? What are the kind of the things that you see and you hear people talk about?
So knowing that the answer could be that the brand strategy needs fixing, or the execution of it, or the marketing, or the experience, like it could be it could be any one of those, because it's often that you have a good strategy, it's just really poorly executed. But the kind of the noise that you should be looking out for is things that used to work are not working the same way anymore. You're finding it harder to win customers, harder to reduce churn, like sort of like things are sort of going off the boil. Like you just feel like it's just not where you were even a year ago. But then there's some other ones which are all about actually being proactive and on a front foot. Like if you want to break into new markets, if you want to get into new categories, if you want to bring new products to market, you have to look at whether or not the market is and kind of thinks of you the way that you need it to in order to be able to sell in that new offer, service, whatever, whether it's a new buyer, a new market, new category, new product, whatever. And when you need to get growth, what you have to do is you have to get people to almost reconsider who they think you are. So one of the biggest issues, for example, is companies saying, our customers are all buying the new product suite from competitors because they don't realize that we do it too. It's things like that. So it's that a desire. Refresh is a great word because you can refresh how you show up for people and you can re-engage them. It doesn't mean changing your logo. It doesn't mean necessarily even changing any of the ingredients in your brand, but you have to get people to think of you in their buying situation for different things. And that is a chance, I think, to really look at whether your brand's doing the job for you.
Perfect. So listen to the noises first, diagnosis next, cred, don't do brand guidelines. I think I've covered it all, haven't I?
Yeah, that'll do.
And leave Gerald in accounts alone. Gerald is a real person. I've just changed his name, by the way. So, but yes, I think that's it. Perfect. Rachel, thank you for joining us today at the big marketing meetup in Belfast. Let's give everyone a wave as we go.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Andy.
Bye.
Bye.